Content warning. The Wards of the State podcast may contain material that may be harmful or traumatizing to some audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Hey, Light Shiners, welcome back to another amazing episode of Wards of the State. We're back, and we are getting through, guys. We're getting so close to 100. I cannot wait until we have 100 episodes. And podcast time, that's a long time, right? 100, think about it. Each episode is 45 minutes to an hour on average. Some are a little bit longer, some are a little bit shorter. But that means that we've spent almost 100 hours of lived experience. That's crazy. You ain't getting that nowhere else. That's 100 different stories, 100 different hours for foster parents, adoptive parents, guardianship parents, anyone who's working inside or alongside the child welfare system to get some free education. Because y'all, the podcast is free. It's free 99. That's the best price. Free 99. So like always, make sure you guys are sharing the podcast with your families and friends. Make sure you're following us on Spotify and subscribing. And also make sure you are listening on Apple Podcasts and leaving us a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-star rating and review. We haven't had a review, y'all, since December. What's going on? The views is there. The views is there. We still getting 10 to 20,000 downloads per episode. What's going on? 10,000 of y'all listening? Ain't nobody got a review for a brother? All right, go ahead, pause this right now. Go ahead, pause it. I ain't even sharing this story. Pause it. Go ahead, pause. Leave a review. You left it? All right, now we can go ahead. Our next guest to join us is going to be Miss Diana. Hi, Diana. How are you doing today?
I feel good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Diana's over there cracking up.
I'm trying my best because my friends tell me you gotta hold it together.
Yes. Well, listen, I think we're going to have a lot of inspirational and emotional journey today. So let's start off at high and we might get real low depending on how your story goes. But let's just start from the top, Diana. How did you enter the external childcare system?
So I have a different experience. I was born in Russia, believe it or not. I know a lot of you guys don't believe me, but I was born in Russia. But I ended up in an orphanage.
In Russia?
So I jumped through different orphanages. I'm not sure exactly how many, but it was at least 2 to 3 orphanages. The way I ended up in Russia, I was born there. My mom is Armenian and Russian, and I have an African father. I don't know anything about him. I am just now getting information about my mom at age 32, which is a hard pill to swallow. But my life in Russia was really tough because I was the only black child in all the orphanages I lived in. And being the only black child was hard for me because the experiences I had to go through were totally different compared to the other kids. For example, people did not know how to take care of my hair. And the way my hair experience went was very hurtful, and it was harmful to me and to my mental state. So I would sit in between the caregiver's legs on the floor with no cushion or anything, and she would rip out my hair with a small tooth comb, thinking that she's combing out. But every time I saw the comb, it had like patches of hair. So I had bald patches throughout my hair. I had a little afro, and I was proud of it, but I couldn't have that either. So it's like that.
My goodness.
Yeah, so when I was going through the hair care, it was happening every week. Before bedtime, it didn't make sense because they weren't wrapping my hair, and I wasn't understanding why I had to get my hair ripped out of my scalp before bed because we're not going anywhere. We're going to sleep. But then at the same time, I look at it right now, and it's like it's a bittersweet moment for me because it was a way for me to stay away from older kids that were abusing me. So it was a way of me to be kind of safe, but not exactly. Because when I was with the caregiver, the other kids, we were in a playroom and there were about 30 to 40 kids in the small room watching black and white TV, and I was in a corner sitting by myself.
And what year was this?
it was like my understanding. I remember my life between anywhere between 7 and 9. Before
Okay.
7 and 9, I do not remember anything at all. I'm
Anything.
hoping that I was treated okay in the previous times, but yeah. So I was going through that every night before bed. Didn't know why, but it was a way like for me to stay away from the abuse I was experiencing with the older kids. In the orphanage, the older kids somehow got the authority of taking care of the little kids, which doesn't make sense. And with me being taken care of by the older kids, I wasn't being taken care of. I was being abused physically, sexually, mentally. Like there were times where they would drag me from my bed at night and wrap me in sheets and drag me to their room to just abuse me. There were times where like they would strip me naked and they would just start hitting me with objects like tree branches, their shoes, their hands. For some reason, they believed that I wasn't feeling any pain, so that's why they were doing that, and it was a way of them to see if I would like cry or anything like that, which I was crying. Over time, me living in the orphanage, I learned how to hold my tears back, which was not good because I got to a point where like I was like, you know what, fuck it, like I'm gonna deal with whatever I have to deal with, regardless if it's abuse or whatever. Yeah.
So when you were in Russia, like you speak fluent Russian because you were an older kid, right? You grew up in the orphanages
Yes.
in Russia. So
Yeah, so I'm actually relearning it because me being adopted and then being forced to learn English, I kind of forgot about. I kind of
you
forgot the
forgot
language.
about. So
Yeah,
what age did your parents come and adopt you?
9. I was
So
9.
you spoke a language for 9 years, or
Yeah,
about what? Probably like what? 8 years, because kids started learning around talk like 1 or 2. So like 7, 8 years, and then like that's a long. I got adopted at 9, so that's crazy that you would have like this whole identity, and then they just erased it all. Like they didn't support you speaking. Did they speak Russian? Your adopted parents?
no,
Did they
no.
like prepare
Crazy
themselves?
thing is that my adopted parents, they adopted 7 others, and 3 other kids are from Russia, and one of the kids spoke Russian, so he was my translator. But the
Wow.
relationship with us has like changed drastically within like few weeks, I want to say, because when I got adopted in 2002 of August, I remember going home to their Chicago home where they lived, and then within like few minutes, we flew out to Switzerland. In Switzerland, I had to like learn everything. I don't know why we went to Switzerland, but we went there for a week, and I was just amazed about
What nationality were your parents?
white.
Not I mean like national, like what nation?
Wait,
Like German? Are they from America and Switzerland, German?
America.
So why did they go to Switzerland?
Because my adopted mom's biological daughter was living in Switzerland at that time. But
Gotcha, gotcha,
we
gotcha.
went to somebody's wedding, which I didn't know
Okay,
who it was. But
okay.
like after that trip, that's when things have really changed drastically for me because I started school right away. I went straight to 3rd grade instead of like, doing from beginning. I went straight to 3rd grade. I had to learn the language at school, but in midst of me going to school, I was still communicating with my adopted Russian brother. But that
Hmm.
relationship has changed because within the time that I started school, I was being
Hmm.
molested by him.
By him.
Yeah, so it was
Jesus
fresh.
Christ.
It was
And then
fresh.
you couldn't even say anything because no one understood you and he was your translator.
Yeah, so it was very fresh. Like I remember when my mom, adopted mom, we stayed at a hotel the night that she got me from Russia, and she asked my brother, quote unquote, where those bruises from, because she saw my body. Like I had bruises, scars, I had everything on my body. Unfortunately, she told her something else, and I was like, no, this is from the orphanage. And she told her a different story, so she never asked about it. Like she never asked about it. So like I was living with things from the orphanage, bringing it to America, and I never told my story to anybody after I got adopted. To anybody, they didn't know. what I went through. One of my sisters did have a feeling that I went through something hard in there because the way I was like walking and talking, I was very fearful of everybody. I was fearful of
Hmm.
loud noises. I was just like very scared, and I was glued to one of my adopted sisters to a point where I couldn't like leave their sight. I would not speak because I didn't know how to articulate myself, especially learning English. But in Russia, like it was hard because I don't think I knew myself either because I didn't know my full name when I was in the orphanage. I only knew my first name, which is Diana in Russian. That's it. And I didn't know if I had a family out there, but recently, as of February, I found out I have a biological brother, and we
Wow.
reunited. But it sucks because it's like 3 decades later, you reunite with the brother that you were missing for all those decades, and finding out that he was taking care of you when you were a baby before you got put into an orphanage. It's a hard pill to
So
swallow.
was he adopted as well? No. So
No,
he just stayed in the orphanage his whole childhood, or what happened with
this
him?
is the crazy part. I was the only one that ended up in the orphanage, and it's the reason why I ended up there is because my biological mom's mom told her, you have to get rid of your two black kids, which is myself and my brother Jeremy, um, or you can't live with me. So that was the ultimatum that my biological mom was given in order for her to not be
Mm,
on the street. So I guess we were hopping to apartment within, within 2 weeks after I was born. But like shortly after I was born, I ended up at somebody's house, and then I ended up at an orphanage, and then I was transferred to a different orphanage in Krasnodar, Russia. So my brother stayed with our aunt the whole time. And from what I'm understanding, he said that my grandparents used to visit me at the first orphanage. So I don't recall because I don't have the memory.
and did and have you reunited with your birth mother or anyone besides your brother?
No, so we don't know if she's alive. We don't know if she's alive. From what he told me, he thinks she's not based on the conversation that he heard. But he's not sure. So we still till this day we don't know. But I mean
Okay.
I hope she's alive. I hope she's okay. If she's out there, it would be great to meet her. I don't have any like hard feelings towards her anymore, just because I never knew her. But then I also regained my brother, so it's like I gained something that I was waiting for, looking for all these years.
Yeah.
And then like I talk about so I wrote a memoir, my first memoir, and it's in process of getting edited. And I mentioned in
Oh,
one of the
congratulations.
chapters, I write a letter to my biological mom. And I'm basically telling her what I had to go through in the orphanage because she made such a huge decision without considering my situation and my brother's. Because why did we have to get separated? Like he stayed and I went to the orphanage to get abused. And then I got adopted, and then in the adopted family, I was basically treated the same way. So what was the purpose of me being in the orphanage if nobody took care of me? Because there were times where like we only had oatmeal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We didn't have anything else. We had water.
You're adopted at home?
No, in the orphanage. In the
Oh, I
orphanage.
said, God damn. Okay, that makes better sense in the orphanage. Okay, it's still bad, but it makes more sense.
No, yeah. So that was our breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Oatmeal. And there were days where I didn't eat anything because they chose that for me. Like they would make decisions of what kind of punishment I would get. So I would go days without eating compared to other kids. And then there were days where I would get crumbs of the nasty oatmeal. Until there was no milk or water in it.
It
Dry
was
as
just
heck.
dry.
Dry as heck. And like I remember I told a caregiver, a male caregiver, telling him that I was getting abused by the boys, older boys. And I appreciate what he did, but the ending was bad. I appreciate that he went to the boys and asked them like, "Hey, is this happening with such and such?" But unfortunately, because they denied that they were not assaulting me, from me telling the caregivers, I ended up getting beat up by them. So it was like situations like that. I was a small child. I'm 4'8", and I'm an adult.
Mm.
So I was smaller than 4, and I was under 40 pounds. And I'm trying to fight out two guys that were huge and muscular while they're like doing whatever. So after they sexual assaulted me, they left me on the bare floor, and naked, and they started like kicking me on my ribs and stomach.
Kicking?
Yeah. They kicked me, they yelled at me, they hit me with their shoes. This is after they sexual assaulted me. And I remember like that night I thought I was not going to see another day. Because I should have like, that should have been my last day by the way I was getting beat up. But
Hmm.
then like they just left me, so I ended up staying on the floor for a few minutes, like crying in pain. And then I ended up getting the guts to get off the floor, but I was limping a lot. Mind you, their room was upstairs on the third floor, and the little kids' rooms were on the bottom floor. So I had to go all the way downstairs. And I was very quiet because if you get caught, you get in trouble. Barely made it to my room, but I did ended up making there. And I remember the next day, one of the caregivers asked me why I was limping, and I told her why. And because of me telling her, like, she didn't believe me. And so she brushed it off. So like the past few days, I was like in pain. And then like there was couple nights where if you wet your bed in the orphanage, you get punished for wetting your bed. So like there was a night where I wet my bed and I was like 7, 6. And I wet my bed and I woke up from my nightmare and I got scared. So I didn't say a word. I didn't realize I wet my bed until I looked at myself. So the caregiver came in the room and she's like, "What are you crying for?" And I'm like, and I didn't say anything because I was scared. So she started yelling at me. So she stripped the blanket off of me and she saw that I wet my bed. And I was like scared as heck. So from her doing that, she like stripped me naked. She told me that I had to go to the bathroom. And before all that, she stripped the bed and she saw the rock stick underneath my pillow. And those are the two items that I use to focus on, to distract myself from all the craziness I was dealing with. So because she took that away from me after like finding out that I thought my life was over at that point because those were like two things that I was holding on, and I would create a picture of house and of a sun and clouds, and that was a picture of hope for me. And that I focused on that because I'm like, man, when is somebody going to come and get me? So for her to take that away from me, I was like broken. I was broken. She told me to go to the bathroom, so I went to the bathroom, and then she told me to turn the water on. So I had to stand under cold water. I was crying at that point because of the rocks and sticks, and then because I had to stay under the water. So I reached for the soap, and she told me, "Don't you dare touch it. Like this is not for you. You don't deserve soap. Don't use it on your body." So I wasn't allowed to get cleaned properly. And this was happening on daily basis. Mind you, we didn't take showers every day because of, the orphanage that I lived in. They didn't have a lot of resources. So we were like in a
Hmm.
poor orphanage, so to say. But I wasn't allowed to use the soap. So instead, she told me that I have to eat the bar soap instead of cleaning my body. And I gave her the look like, what the fuck, are you serious? And then I didn't do anything with the soap. I just froze, and she forced the soap in my mouth, and I had to literally like chew the bar of soap, the whole bar of soap. So I was doing that while crying, and then I was peeking the soap out, and it was happening for a few minutes, but it felt like it was forever. And she finally like realized that I wasn't going to do it, but I had to like swallow pieces of soap because I was forced to. If you disobey, you get in trouble. Like, what do you?
No, my adopted mother did the soap on mouth thing too, and I wasn't forced to chew it. She would have me sitting with soap in my mouth for hours, so like I would chew it in spite, like just chew it up and just spit it out in spite, and then it gets stuck in your teeth, and it's just not a good
Yeah,
experience.
no. So then like she finally let me rinse my mouth out, and I thought I was good. I can sleep in my bed, but I ended up sleeping on the floor. I went back to the room and she told me like you can't sleep on the bed because you keep the bed and you drop sticks and rocks inside. And I was like, oh man. So then what I would do, this was happening pretty often of me sleeping on the floor or me forced to sleep in the bathroom on the floor. I would sneak the blanket and pillows when they're not in the room. And then I would put it back on the bed. And I got caught of doing that. So I was like not allowed to use that. I got caught. I got in trouble. So because I got caught, they forced me to sleep in the bathroom on the floor. So I would sneak out of the bathroom to go into the room to just sleep for a few minutes. So all those nights that I had to experience that, I barely had any sleep. I barely got any sleep because I was like on the fight mode.
Yeah.
Like it was constant. The things that they call me mm, is some things that we hear on regular basis for black
Hmm.
us. And at that time, I didn't understand what the words were because I was clueless. I didn't know how to read in Russian. I spoke, but I didn't know how to read or write because we didn't have school in the orphanage. It was basically like a daycare. We didn't have school. We didn't like if we had toys, we had to share toys amongst all the kids. We had to share clothes amongst the kids. They would choose my outfits, but I was the last one to get anything to wear because I'm the bottom of the barrel. There were times where like I didn't even have shoes to wear, and when we went outside, we would go outside in our underwear because it was so hot. It, it gets hot in Russia, over 100 degrees hot. So
That's
like,
crazy.
yeah, it gets hot, brutal. But when we used to go outside, I would play with the sticks and rocks, and I would create my little picture, and I would hide out from people because I'm just like, you're not going to bother me. And I would get in trouble for hiding out, but it was my way of not being targeted by people, by the older kids and the caregivers. And I was to say it this way, I was more afraid of the older kids than the caregivers because the caregivers were physically and mentally abusive, but the older kids were everything above and more. So it's like I was afraid of the older kids, and there was times where like I went outside, we went outside, and I stepped on a wood that had a huge nail on it, and it was stuck in my foot, bottom of my foot, and I was by myself because I was hiding out. I was scared as heck because I didn't know where everybody was, and it was time to go in for dinner, oatmeal. And the older kids, there was four older kids. There was two girls and two boys, and they heard me, and they started like whistling at me. They started yelling at me and telling me to come out. If you don't come out, we're gonna find you. So they used to play this game, quote unquote game, their game, where they had me run as fast as I can to see if they can catch up to me. So if they caught up to me, they could do whatever the hell they want to do with me. So that's what I was doing. And mind you, I had a nail in my foot. So I was like, how am I supposed to run? So I pulled the nail out of my foot and I started running as fast as I could to get to the line. I made it, but from the distance, I could see the kids saying, wait till tonight. We'll see what will happen with you tonight. From the distance, because they were like bullying. And that night, things happened. Abuse, sexual abuse. They were like, doing the same thing, abusing with their hands, shoes. They used to like, so I still have scars. I don't show them, but they used to use sharp items to like cut. to see if I can feel pain. So I have like two cuts on
And
my.
these are the kids? And these are kids your age or like older
No,
kids?
these are older. So like in this particular orphanage, it was kids from like maybe 6 years old to 18. So in the orphanage, it's
Wow.
once you're 18, you're out. They kick you out. You're on your own. But the thing is with the orphanage, if you are anywhere between like 15 and 18, you have some kind of authority. And also like the older kids, they recruit the younger kids too. So
Mm,
sometimes it could be anywhere younger from like 13 to 14, in their little quote unquote group, doing whatever they
the
have to
group,
do.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was scary to live through that. I've never told a soul about anything I went through because it's like when you hear yourself tell the story, it just sounds crazy. It sounds crazy.
Mhm.
It,
It does.
because it's like the stuff that happened, it's crazy. I tried to speak up for other kids, but yet I'm the one who got in trouble. Like I couldn't even speak up for them. I couldn't speak up for any of the kids that were my age.
And you were the only Black person in the orphanage your entire time? Wow.
Yeah, there was no adults, there was no nada. Like there was a time where we were outside and I was playing with a little boy. He was my size, like very skinny. Everybody was skinny because we weren't getting fed enough. This little boy was like afraid to speak, of course, I understand that. But that particular day, we saw a house like next to the playground, the field where we were living.
Mhm.
And there was a lady that was making food and she was making dinner and it was borscht. If you don't know what borscht is, it's a beet soup and it's really good. You have to try it. Look it up on YouTube, find the recipe and try it out. But
Okay.
she was making borscht and she was talking to us and during that moment I felt seen. I felt like I was being respected. I felt like I was being considered into a conversation. So it felt really good. And she offered us a piece of bread, and of course we said yes. But because we took the bread, because we ate it, we got in trouble. But my punishment was
For what?
for taking the bread. But the crazy thing about it is that my punishment was different compared to the little boy. Like I'm not saying that he should have got what I got, but at the same time it sucked because once I got in trouble, I got whipped with a wooden stick. Compared to him, he was told, "Oh, just don't take a piece of bread from a stranger." So it's like stuff like
Yeah.
that, where like, why are we not being treated the same way? Why are you going to extreme with me and to a point where you can break me? So I got whipped with a wooden stick, and I was on the floor for a couple minutes because I couldn't get up. And once I got the guts to get up, we had to go in to eat. And I thought I was good. I was, okay. Still limping and crying my eyes out. The caregiver told me to sit at a table by myself, and I was like, oh, whatever, okay, time out. Like, I'm used to time out. I'm used to being isolated.
Mhm.
And while I was sitting at the table by myself, everybody else was surrounded because it's like a big cafeteria that we were eating in. Each table was divided by age group and the caregiver. So there was like about we would see 50 caregivers throughout the day, at least 50.
Wow.
Mhm. And because there was like over 200 kids in this orphanage. So I was sitting by myself, crying my eyes out, and within like few minutes, I want to say two, I see a caregiver with a huge bowl of bread. He tells me like you need to eat this, you can't leave until you finish the whole bowl of bread. And I'm like, what the hell is this? Like I'm not used to eating this much food and I'm not going to eat food under pressure. So I was forced to eat the bowl of bread. I couldn't leave until I was done. And that lasted over an hour. And I finally finished it and I told her like, hey, I have a stomach ache, like I'm not feeling good. And she was like, oh no, you're okay, you're fine. You don't have a stomach ache. This is what happens if you take a piece of bread from a stranger. So like my health was just messed too, like where I would tell them I have a headache. I used to get a lot of migraines. And I would tell
Mhm.
them like I have a bad migraine. I can't stand up. I have to sleep. and they would leave me in a huge room by myself. Mind you, this is the prime time for older kids to do whatever the hell they want to do. So there were times where I was left alone in a huge room of different beds, where we sleep. And the older kids would come and just like mess around with it. Like they would use the opportunity. So it's like every time I was trying to be safe, I wasn't safe. I was in
You weren't
danger.
safe.
Like I was in danger all the time. It got to a point where I was like, I'm going to let everything happen, whatever it is. I don't care because I was fighting every single day for the same thing, to stop abusing me, to stop beating me up. Like, why are we doing this? And they saw me crying, so like, why are we going to watch a child cry over abuse? So it's like I turned my tears off. I learned how to stop crying, which was dangerous because it's like I just let everything happen, and I am just now realizing that it's not my fault with whatever happened to me. I am just now like,
Hmm.
telling myself like, hey, you're not the one that caused it, you're the victim. And it's hard to
You
say
absolutely. You were a
because
baby. You were a baby. So let's fast forward a little bit. So your adoptive parents come to Russia. They pick you up. You go to your sister's wedding, I guess, in Switzerland. What happens then? Did your adoptive parents? I guess you said that you were quiet about it, so you never really told anybody about what your situation was in the orphanage. But I'm sure you were dealing with the trauma
yeah,
of it
so
as a
like
child.
so what I did, I kind of bottled everything up and just kind of forgot about
Hmm.
it, technically. I didn't bring it up, but then deep inside, it's like when I was alone, it would come
Hmm.
up and I would get really like scared of thinking about it to a point where like I would shut down completely. So people didn't know like what I was dealing with. They thought I was a happy kid. I mean, I could put on a smile, but that doesn't mean I'm not dealing with something because I was trained to say yes, ma'am, yes, sir. Smile when you have to. I was like a robot from the orphanage. So everything I had to deal with in the orphanage, I was sharing that with my adopted family. So nobody knew, first of all, that I was getting molested every single day of my life for 2 years. Nobody knew that I had trauma from the orphanage. Um, like I said earlier, my sister knew that something happened to me, but she never knew to the extent.
To
So
the
I would
extent,
just,
yeah.
yeah, I would just pretend like everything is fine. And the way my mom found out about the molestation was we used to have these draining long family meetings on weekends, Saturday particularly. And this particular Saturday was different because it wasn't during the morning, it was at night. And this is the time where there were secrets being put out from my other sisters. One of my sisters got pregnant, and my other sister was in the meeting with them. So then the meeting was heated because I could hear them from next door. So within a few minutes, my mom called me and my other sister that I was not close to. I swear, that person hated me to the guts from the time that I arrived into the family.
Now, were you the only adoptee, or were there other adoptees in your adoptive home?
There were other adoptees. There were seven of us.
Dang.
There were seven of us, and I was the youngest during this time. And then she adopted another girl from Russia, orphanage. Maybe like she adopted her in 2006. So yeah, that was the last. Myself and the little girl were the last one. But during this
Okay.
meeting, my mom called us in, and my sister, the one that didn't like me, she's the one who walked on us in the abuse. And I remember till this day how it happened. Like I was in bed, naked with him, and I peeked my head out of the bed, and I got scared because I heard her voice. So she said, "Get your clothes on, come downstairs." So I was like, "Oh shit, I'm in trouble." And I go downstairs, and her question was, "What were you doing in bed?" And I'm like, "Oh, I was looking for Skittles." Mind you, I'm not looking for Skittles. Who's looking for Skittles naked? And she kept asking me that same question every single day. But I still felt that they did not understand why. Instead of asking me, "Are you okay? Do you need a hug?" Instead of asking me those things, like you went to your friend and told them about what you saw. So your friends and you knew about a situation that could have been stopped earlier. Mind you, that situation did not stop after her finding out. Like it kept going, going, going until so during the meeting she was like asking me again what happened, and that's when I had to explain to her like,
Your baby. He just came in smiling.
okay, give me a few minutes, I'm on the go.
No, he's a happy baby.
Yeah, so during that's when I told everybody what happened. I did not go into details because I'm not about to do that. We're gonna be sitting there forever. Did not go into details. My sisters, my two other sisters, they saw that something was wrong because they knew I was a happy child, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
So once they saw me like fill everything out, they knew that something was wrong, and they gave me a hug, which felt good. But then mom, she was asking all these questions about like, why didn't you tell me? You should have told me. How come this happened? Da da da. So it was like I didn't care that I was being hurt.
Mm.
And after that, it felt like my mom didn't give two cracks about me. Because mind you, like I said in your life, when I was adopted, she brought me to the house and I was basically pawned to my sisters. My sisters were responsible for me, not her. She was a workaholic. She worked her butt off, which I admire.
Was she single? Was there a dad? Was there an adoptive father
There
in the
was a
picture?
adopted father, but I don't have any recollection of him besides like him being physically abusive and verbally, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't. He like I did not have a relationship with him. I never called him a dad. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I called mom, but then it was like it was fake because I didn't. Called mama and sorry.
There, you're okay. We all got babies. So, how long did you stay? Like, did you turn 18 in your adoptive home? What happened after, did they do anything about the assault ever? Did your brother get in trouble?
Okay,
Like, what happened?
so yeah, so after the assault, I was I went into the therapy. I went into therapy one on one. And the therapy did not help because I didn't open up. Because first of all, I'm going to therapy for that, but I never went to therapy for trauma in the orphanage. So I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't able to talk to the therapist about what really was going on in my head
Mm-hmm.
and why I didn't speak up because I was being held down by the trauma in the orphanage. I went there for about a year at least, and then I don't know why it stopped, but it stopped. But then the weird thing about it is that I was forced to go see my brother in the facility that he was locked up at for molesting. So I wasn't
So he did get in legal trouble. He got arrested.
He went to a facility. He didn't like go to prison or jail. Like it was a facility.
It was like a troubled teen institution.
Yeah, that. So he went there and I had to see him face to face, and mom was like upset with me every time because I wouldn't speak to the guy. And there were times where like I was sitting by myself and she was sitting with him on the opposite side. So it's like, why are you sitting with him but you're not sitting with me? And why do I not have anybody by my side?
And why did you have to go anyways?
I don't know to this day. Like I've asked my adopted sisters and they don't know. Like they don't know why. And
did they have to go?
No, it was only me. And from what I understand is that mom tried to bring him back into the family.
She's trying to heal what happened, like as if that could heal it. That's crazy.
And
that's insane.
I remember going to a room and I had to act out what happened because I wasn't able to talk. And I used dolls to explain to I believe that it was somebody from DCF, to be honest, from what I'm understanding. And I showed them what happened, but that's all I remember. And then I remember going to so many different doctor appointments to get tested, to like just make sure that I was intact and da da da. Like I had to go to so many doctor appointments with mom, nobody else. So that was weird too. Like nobody was able to go with me but her. So it's like I never had a relationship with my adopted mom at all. She would threaten me like, if you don't act right, you're gonna be sent back to the orphanage. Okay, send me back. What are we doing? So it was that those threats happened when we moved to Colorado in 2008 when I was in eighth grade. And then she would tell me to go to my room. So every time I got in trouble, she would tell me to go to my room. So every time I went to my room, I would not eat at all because she would force me to apologize to her. And I'm not about to apologize to you when I'm
To
not
eat.
the one to cause any issues or to just eat. So it got to a point where I was used to it, and because I was going days without eating in the orphanage, so it wasn't a huge deal for me to go days without food in America. But it got to a point where like my younger sister was dealing with the same thing where she was getting in trouble, and what I would do for her, I would sneak food for her so she can eat. Because I was like, nobody's spending for her. No, I don't. No, thank you. Nobody's spending for her. Like, why are we not going to treat each other like we're a family?
Mm-hmm.
So I still feel there's so my adopted mom has passed away, rest her soul. But I have not dealt with the trauma from her because I'm just now dealing with the trauma from the orphanage. So I'm unpacking everything like right now while I'm writing my story. And it's hard because it's like I was able to forgive my biological mom faster than my adopted mom. And I still have not forgiven my adopted mom. I am working on it. She passed away like it will be 2 years in August. And I got invited to her, what is it? To her wake or whatever. And I don't think I'm going because I need to heal before I can go.
Before you can
Like,
deal with that, yeah.
yeah, because she kicked me out on Mother's Day, which Mother's Day to me till this day is a little salty. Because I'm a mom now. And she kicked me out on Mother's Day, and thankfully I was engaged at that time. She refused for me to like get on my husband's insurance. She refused for
Wow.
me to get a job. She did not want me to drive. Till this day, I still don't drive, but I have to get over the fear. I wasn't able to work. Once she kicked me out, I was like, oh, whatever, I could get a job now. So I got myself a job at college. I was taking 6 classes, um,
Mm-hmm.
and working. And my husband is the one who was helping me, like, with getting a state ID. I didn't have a state ID for like the longest until I met my husband, and I was 21.
Wow.
So stuff like that, like she prevented me from doing things, and it's a way of her to control. Like I wasn't able. There's
It's always when you're doing something. They be leaving you alone when you just in the house chilling. But as soon as you go on the phone, they want to be all over you.
so
It's okay.
yeah. So my mom was like, she was a hard working person, but I still to this day don't know why I was adopted. Like, I just don't. Okay, don't choke me.
That's so adorable. That's so Diana. So you don't. So do you still have relations with your siblings? Some of your siblings, right? Your
So
adopted
I have
siblings.
relationship with my two favorite. Okay, with my two favorite sisters. I talk to them every day, and I don't. I talk to my youngest. I talk to my younger sister. I talk to my younger sister here and there, but yeah, I keep up with. But I talk to my biological brother every day, so that's good.
I love that. I love. And do you still talk to what happened to Creeper?
So I don't talk to him. I haven't seen him. There's
Do they still talk to him? Because that's hit their siblings too. They don't. They everybody didn't cut him off.
everybody cut him off. Yeah, I don't talk to him. I haven't seen him. I think we have a restraining order too for him, for us. or whatever, however that works.
Mhm.
But yeah,
That's a that your story is so yeah, I see why you're writing a memoir. I see why you're writing a memoir because it is inspiring, it's crazy, it's
yeah,
also just, like you just have so much light, though, you remind me so much of myself,
yeah,
right? And just, like, your smile and your energy, because this is, like people see me and they're just, like when I tell them my story, like, I'm just sitting here listening to you, and I'm just like, "Oh my god, this is, like this is this how I sound?" when I tell my story because to us, you're just telling your story because it's just like second nature, just what happened. But like, I'm just like, what?
yeah, yeah.
What? So it really wasn't. I'm like, and she has like such a bright spirit, and like, you definitely don't look like what you've been through. But that's exactly what people say to me.
I'm leaving. I try to be thankful. I try to be thankful for being adopted, even though it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to turn out. So that's how I look
Hmm.
at my life. Like, yes, I went through all that, and I went through more. You'll find out in the book. But I think the things that I went through, it has that I am now. I look at life in a certain way where, like, I still feel like there's hope out there for kids to get homes, good
Hmm.
homes at that.
Hmm.
For like people in general, like people that are struggling in their life, hope that they find ways to cope with it where they don't
Hmm.
feel like they're alone.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely. And that's kind of like, that's why I do my work. That's why I have my platforms. This is why we have this podcast. I want people to understand that they're not alone. And sometimes when we have traumatic childhoods, it always feels like nobody's story could be worse than ours. But babes, there are people with worse stories. Cause I just heard.
that's a little,
But Diana, thank you so much for coming on. I do ask every guest every week if there's one piece of advice that they would give an adoptee in their same situation. What's one piece of advice you would give a transracial international adoptee?
I think the advice I would give is like if you're going to adopt somebody that's not of your race, please, please do as much research as possible. Try to put yourself in places where the kids can feel like they're being seen, where they feel like they're being heard, because a lot of times we don't get heard. We get brushed off, and I think that it is important for everybody to find ways to cope with things that they're dealing with, because everybody has a story to tell, like everybody. And if you want to share your story because your story might resonate with somebody that's dealing with similar things. Like your story. Like a lot of people, I'm getting your book by the way, thank God. A lot of people can resonate with your story or they see the real life that you had to live through. And people don't understand and know what other person went through until they really see their
Until
friend's
they
story.
see or read, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate you grabbing a copy, and I can't wait to read yours. So let me know, and if you ever need any help with publication, like I have a whole consulting business with books. So if you need any, I won't even charge you because I'll just be like, listen, I'll put you on the game. I'm on my second book. There is a game, but it can be it for me. I didn't do it for money. I did it for because I wanted my legacy to be heard, and I thought that it was important to be heard. I ain't gonna lie, the money did come with that too. Money did come with money came with that too. But if I didn't sell one book, it would have been okay because that was like that was like me finally saying to the world, like, this happened to me. And even after I die, my book will remain here.
Right.
It'll remain on bookshelves. It'll remain in libraries. That's my legacy. So I didn't go through all of that for naught.
Right.
And I didn't want to go through all of that and survive all of that and just like die and my
Right.
story
Right.
disappears, right? So I think it's really important for anyone, rather you're doing it just to have your book or rather. And then here's another thing. If you do profit from your pain, profit and walk to the fucking bank. I hate when people, oh my God, you're rage baiting, you're profiting off your pain. Yeah, yeah. So many other people profit off my pain, so I might as well make a couple dollars while we at it. Yo, I ain't got no problem with these agencies making 60, 70, 80,000 dollars off our body. But bitch, I can't ask for 19.95 for a soft cover book. Now I'm a grifter because I'm selling my own story. So please be inspired. Please write your book. I cannot wait to read it.
Yeah, it took a long time for me to like come to terms to write it. And I started writing in January and I finished
Okay. So this is some advice I would give to you. Right now, don't even worry about like the publishing part. That'll all come later. That'll all come later. Right now, give yourself, because you're a mom too. You get busy. You got work. You got everything. A page to yourself a day. Sometimes you can only do like a paragraph, but work on it every single day for 30 minutes. That's what I did for both of my books. And then sometimes you'll have to take a break, because there are some times where I was talking about some really tragic stuff, and I was like, I need to take a couple of days off. I can't.
Yeah, so I
do
had
it.
to
And do that.
I had to take a whole.
Yeah, take those breaks, because what happens is if you try to force yourself through that writing, it's not going to come over. It's not going to come across the way you want it to come across. And then it's going to be, that anger, that frustration, that fight or flight. When you're writing, you want to be in a healed position where you can tell the whole truth.
Right.
Because a lot of the times where I found in my book is like when sexual assault or homelessness or like any bad thing happened to me, if I tried to force myself through that writing, I wouldn't get as detailed and descriptive as I should have, because that's me just trying to be like, all right, girl, I was raped, and move on. No. What was the sight? What did you smell? What did you feel? What did you see? And you really have to sit in your moment of trauma and be like, what color was the sheets? Were there pillows on the bed, right? And that is what's going to make a grappling memoir, because it's the details. But a lot of people don't want to focus on the details when it pertains to their trauma, because that's literally just sitting in your trauma. Unpacking your brain, like, no, was the light on or was the light off? Now, did they rape me once or twice? No, but it's real. It's real. That's what you got to do. But no, I'm super excited, Diana. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And Light Shiners, like we say every week. And like Diana said in her experience earlier, y'all, share your stories. That's why my slogan is always shine your light. Always shine your light means be light, be bright. Always shine. Always share your story, because you never know who might guide. Always shine your light, because you never know who might be in a dark room, and your light might guide them out of that dark room. Listeners, we'll see you guys for the next episode. And Diana, thank you again. Is there any place, social media, any pre-order? What can we do to support you? Where can we support you?
So I'm in process of editing it right now. It's not even out.
Okay.
Doing the second draft. And
Or do you have any social medias that you want people to kind of follow you?
I'm on TikTok. I join your lives every week. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram, YouTube.
Oh, what is that? What's the @ your username?
Diana Draws.
Okay. And spell that out. Spell that out for the listeners.
Is that how you spell it?
Diana Draws. Perfect. Yep. Well, I will put it also in the show notes, guys, so you guys can follow Diana. And I cannot wait for that book to come out. So definitely, when you get the editing done and the publishing done, y'all make sure you follow Diana. And Diana, thank you so much again for coming on the Wards of the State podcast. And we'll see you next time. Okay.
Thanks.
Awesome. That was great.